Let's be honest, drawing faces is one of the most frustrating parts of learning to draw. You get the eyes right, but suddenly the nose is off. Or maybe your sketch is fine until you try to add shading and now everything looks flat and awkward. If you've ever looked at your drawing and thought something's just not right, then you're not alone. In this video, I'm going to walk through 5 simple but powerful tips that will instantly help you draw better faces. You'll also learn the most common mistakes that hold artists back and how to fix them. Whether you're a beginner or brushing up your skills, these techniques will help you start seeing real progress right away. You want to start by drawing the cranium, the brain, the noggin, a simple circle. Then add a vertical line down the center to show which way the face is turned. If the head's looking straight ahead, then the line just goes straight down the middle, but if the head's tilted or turned, that line shifts. It curves slightly to follow the surface of the face. That curve helps you keep everything aligned, especially the features. Next, you want to add a horizontal line halfway through that circle. This is going to be your brow line. Again, if the head's tilted up or down, that line curves too. You're kind of wrapping the guidelines around the face shape like it's a 3D object. I then fill in the jawline, and that's my basic face shape. I'm not going to get super technical in this video because that deserves a whole series of videos, but you want to divide the lower half into thirds for the nose and the mouth. The same rule applies. Those lines should follow the angle and curve of the head. Now, this is just a starting point. I'll be showing you my favorite Procreate tool later in the video that can make your faces truly unique and totally stylized. It doesn't have to be perfect. Even just thinking about the face as a rounded 3D shape instead of a flat one helps you place the features more naturally. All of these faces are drawn using this method. It's a more relaxed approach than what you might be taught in art school, but that's what makes it so effective. Instead of getting stuck on rules and perfection, this method frees you up to actually enjoy drawing, and when you're relaxed, your art flows better too. Now, don't get me wrong, methods like the Loomis approach, where you divide the face into precise geometric shapes and map out every feature with perfect proportions, can be great if you're studying realism, where accuracy and structure are everything. But when you're drawing stylized characters like this, overanalyzing every proportion can actually hold you back. It's easy to get so caught up in perfecting the structure that the drawing starts to feel stiff or lifeless. This method I'm showing you skips that overthinking and helps you capture personality and flow instead. If you think this is the only hack that's going to help improve your drawings, wait till you hear tip 2. Here's something that will change everything for you. Don't start by drawing the whole face in one go. It can be too much all at once, especially if you're still figuring out structure. Instead, focus on one feature at a time and master it. Start with noses. They can be tricky, but once you figure out your unique style in how to draw them, they become way less intimidating. Set yourself a challenge. Draw 20 noses, then 50 noses. Just noses. Try them out from different angles, front view, side view, 3/4 view. You don't need to make them super realistic or even all that different. Just draw them in your style. But draw them enough times that you could do it in your sleep. That kind of repetition makes you a master of each feature. And suddenly, drawing a whole face becomes way less intimidating because now you know how to draw a nose. Here's something I wish I'd realized sooner. If you jump between styles all the time, especially when you're not happy with how your character is looking, you might be wondering, maybe I just haven't found the right style yet. So you might keep redrawing eyes in different ways. Super cartoony one day, semi-realistic the next. But the problem isn't the style, it's that you're not giving yourself enough time to get good at drawing eyes in the first place. If you're changing how you draw them constantly, you're not learning how to show more emotion or perspective within a singular style. What will really help you improve on this is picking a style that feels natural to you and then just draw eyes in that style, over and over. But each time, change something small, an emotion, the angle, or the shape. That's when you'll finally feel confident drawing eyes, from any angle with any emotion because you've actually put in the reps. And the same thing goes for mouths. Just repeat. Practice smiling mouths, angry mouths, open mouths, side angles, over and over. You're not just drawing random faces, you're building a visual library that you can pull from at any time. The goal isn't to get it perfect once, it's about making it comfortable. And when you've practiced each feature like this, the eyes, nose, mouth, suddenly drawing a full face doesn't feel so intimidating anymore. Because now you're not guessing, you've already done the hard work, and when each part feels like second nature, putting them together is actually kind of fun. This kind of practice really works, but there are a few common traps that can slow you down. I've definitely been there, so I'll show you what to watch out for so you can avoid the same mistakes. It's so tempting to stick with what feels safe, usually that one expression or angle you've drawn 100 times. For me, it was the classic front-facing, calm expression, but after a while, every character started to look the same. The problem is, if you never step outside that default pose, your characters won't have much range, and you feel stuck anytime you try and draw something more dynamic or emotional. That's why it's important to intentionally practice the uncomfortable stuff. Draw angry eyes from a 3/4 view, try mouths in an open yell or a side angle smirk. It can feel weird at first, and it probably won't look great right away, but that's the whole point. Practice, practice, practice. Now, before I take you to the next tool, which may completely change the way you draw faces, make sure you subscribe if you want to take your drawing to an entirely new level. Once your sketch is laid down, this is where the real magic happens. If your drawing feels a little too safe or realistic, the warp tool is your best friend. It lets you take a solid, structured base and start designing your character, not just drawing them. The warp tool lets you nudge and stretch features in small ways that make a big difference. Lifting an eyebrow, exaggerating a chin, tilting a nose. These little tweaks are what brings personality and style into your character. It's like sculpting, but with your sketch. This is one of the biggest perks of working digitally. Instead of erasing and redrawing over and over, you can reshape what's already there. It helps you explore stylization in a playful, low-pressure way, and that's usually where the most interesting designs come from. Because you clicked on this video, I bet there's been times where you've drawn a face, looked at it, and thought, it's fine, but something about it feels too stiff or too ordinary. That is when you open up the warp tool, and with just a few subtle tweaks, it completely transforms the character. Like here. With this character, using the warp tool helps exaggerate the jawline and compress the face shape, and that tiny shift makes the whole design feel way more unique. This character's expression was really emotionless. You don't need to redraw anything, but if you just raise one eyebrow and stretch the mouth slightly to one side, instantly it looks more expressive, like you can feel their personality. It suddenly has attitude and style instead of just looking like a default face. Now, as much as I love the warp tool, there is one big thing to watch out for, and that is resolution. Every time you warp something, especially in Procreate, it degrades the quality of the lines. That's why you only want to use the warp tool during the rough sketch stage, never on a finished piece or clean line art. If you start warping after you've done all the details, you'll end up with blurry, stretched lines that are hard to fix. So treat them like a sculpting tool for the design phase, not the final rendering. Once the sketch feels right, then move on to the cleanup stage. So now you've seen how you can structure the face and get the features down, let's get into what you really want to know: how to make your characters pop. These next two tips are all about adding depth, mood, and that final layer of polish that really brings your characters to life. Once your base colors are in, your illustration might still look a little bit flat, and that is totally normal. Flat color alone doesn't give your artwork depth or mood. That is where gradient maps and blending modes come in. These are two of my favorite digital tools to instantly add polish and make your work feel more dynamic and professional. They can help you control light, shadow, color tone, and atmosphere without having to paint every detail by hand. In very simple terms, a gradient map acts kind of as a filter over your drawing. It takes the lights and darks in your artwork and remaps them to colors from a gradient. So your shadows, midtones, and highlights all get a bit of extra mood or tone. Where people get overwhelmed is what to do with them next. If you add a gradient map layer on top of everything, you'll need to alter the blending mode. That just changes how the colors in that layer interact with the colors underneath. So depending on the mode, it can soften the effect, boost contrast, or even make it glow a little. Have a play with the different modes and try lowering the opacity of the gradient map until you get the desired effect. You can even duplicate the layer and change the blending modes again until you're happy. Now, let's talk in more detail about blending modes, because this is where your lighting and shading can really come to life. A blending mode tells Procreate how a layer interacts with the layer below. Instead of just sitting on top like a normal layer, it actually blends the colors together in a different way. For example, you can use multiply for shadows. It darkens the layer based on what color's underneath, so it gives you really natural shading without having to pick a bunch of different shadow colors. Then for highlights, you can use add. These brighten your artwork and can create a soft, glowy feel, especially on areas that the light would be hitting, like the jawline or the nose. Another trick I love is adding a soft layer of lighting or shadow to the whole illustration using a single color, then setting that layer to multiply or add. It works best with a soft airbrush, creating a subtle blended shadow that adds depth and really makes your character pop. If you've never played with these before, I highly recommend it. They're a total game changer once you understand what they do. And if you want a quick guide on what colors to use with what blending modes, I have made you a free Procreate Starter Kit, which you can download right now. It includes a visual blend mode guide, because I know how overwhelming blend modes can be. And I've also included one of my favorite line art brushes to get you started. It's all totally free. Just hit the link in the description below. Now, as powerful as these tools are, there are a few things that can trip you up if you're not careful, like slapping on a gradient map without thinking about values. If the values in your base drawing aren't strong, like your lights and shadows aren't clearly defined, a gradient map won't magically fix this. It might make things look a little bit muddy. You can also overdo blending modes. It's really easy to get carried away, stacking layers, playing with add or overlay until everything is glowing. The trick is subtlety. Lower the opacity, use soft brushes, and let the effect enhance your art, not take over it. We've built the structure, we've added the polish, and now there's just one more thing. That final layer that brings everything together. And trust me, once you start using this, you won't want to go back. Once the sketch, shading, and lighting are done, there's one final step you'll always want to add before calling it a finished piece, and that's texture. Digital art can sometimes look a little too clean, too perfect, almost flat. But adding a touch of texture at the end brings warmth and depth back into the piece. You can overlay a soft paper texture right on top of your artwork. It helps everything feel more natural and illustrated, like it was printed on real paper. It makes the colors look richer, and this one small detail really makes a huge difference to the finished piece. It's super simple to do. Just import the texture, place it over your artwork, and set the blending mode to linear burn. You can lower the opacity if you want it more subtle, but even a light grain can completely change the look. Once you've tried this out, you will want to use it for every piece. Even if the art looks finished, a soft textured layer just pulls everything together. It gives your shadow a bit more grain, your colors a touch of softness, and the whole piece just feels more cohesive. Once you start using texture overlays, you can go back through older illustrations, like those characters you've drawn that always felt a little bit unfinished. Just add a soft paper texture on top. It's pretty amazing that in just a few taps, import, blend, adjust, this whole piece instantly looks better. It's such a small step, but it completely changes how you look at a finished piece. And because it's non-destructive and sits on top, you can try it on anything. new or old, without messing up the work underneath. Now, while it's such a simple step, there is one key thing to make sure you get right. Not all blending modes will give you that soft, natural look. So make sure it's set to linear burn because it lets the texture sit nicely in the shadows without flattening the colors. If you want to achieve this exact same look, then my textured paper pack includes the 12 high-resolution paper textures I use in all my illustrations. They're already set up to work beautifully with the blending mode linear burn, so you can just drop them straight into your canvas and instantly give your artwork that warm, illustrated finish. I'll link them below if you want to check them out. If you like this video, you're going to love this one, which highlights everything an artist would need to know about Procreate.